Welcome back to Embrace Life and Thrive with Sabrina podcast for episode 16, where I'm going to be talking about low glycemic foods that help regulate blood sugar and insulin. The importance of eating food to help regulate blood sugar and insulin is unmeasurable. If you're overweight, if you're trying to lose weight and the scale isn't budging or your clothes aren't fitting any better, looking at what you're eating is key. So low glycemic foods are foods that cause the least amount of spike in our blood sugar, and then the insulin doesn't have to produce, our pancreas doesn't have to produce as much insulin, therefore decreasing the risk of our cells becoming resistant to insulin. So how it works, our cells need glucose for energy, and on the cells are little receptors that accept the insulin, and when the insulin comes to the receptor, the cell knows to then open up to let the glucose in. Over time, if our glucose, our blood sugar, and our insulin are elevated for too long, the cell becomes overtasked. And it's like, I don't need any more glucose. I'm going to become resistant to the insulin. And then the little receptor breaks off. It becomes damaged. And so therefore, the insulin tries to keep talking to the cell to open up to be able to get the glucose for energy, but it's like, no, thank you. I've been there, done that, and I'm overloaded. There's too much going on. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, know that your body is even more overwhelmed. So today I'm going to be talking about foods that you can eat in abundance and really enjoy and still be achieving your goals and helping your body regulate blood sugar and insulin. Before I begin with that, please subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss new podcast episodes and my new recipes. I just recently started posting recipes, videos of the recipes, and then in the link and in the description below, I post the link to the recipe. So those are getting a lot of views. They seem to be liked. So subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking the link in the description below. It will say subscribe to my YouTube channel, and it should take you right to my YouTube channel, and you should see the subscribe button so you don't miss anything. All right, let's get started. So if you Google low glycemic foods, things are gonna come up like apples, which I wore a continuous glucometer for, I can't remember how many months, but it was a good many months. I would say maybe almost 6 months, if not longer. And so during that time, I really tested different foods and how my body reacted and what I could eat in abundance, what I couldn't eat, how my body responded to eating these certain foods that would cause a more of a sugar and glucose spike, and then exercising after and how that helped my body. Every body is different. Every person's metabolism is different. So what worked for me may not work for you. And what works for you may not work for me. So you have to be little detectives with your body. Experimenting with foods, keeping a food journal is very helpful because you write down what you've eaten. You write down how you feel before you eat the food. Write down how you're feeding as write down as how you're feeling as you're eating the food. And then kind of check in with yourself. When you're finished eating, how do you feel? And then 30 minutes later, an hour later, 2 hours later, how are you feeling? Is your energy increased? Is it decreased? Do you feel hungry again? Like you just ate an hour ago. Why are you feeling hungry, right? Well, this has to do with insulin resistance. The cells aren't getting the energy it needs, and so it's sending the signal we need to eat again. But do you really? taking a walk or doing some sort of exercise after meals will really help with this. It will help your body lower that blood sugar spike and help with insulin sensitivity to get that energy into your cells. So, be little detectives. If you ever wanted to be a detective, this is your chance. And this is your chance on being detected for your body and what works for you and how to become a better you. So, when you're looking at your meals, you want to make sure you have healthy fat and fiber at each meal. This will help with overall feeling full, having with bowel movements and sugar regulation. You also want to have protein. This is also key. So the fats, just starting off with the fats that have the least insulin response, which you can eat abundance of. Now, when you're eating a meal, you want to eat intuitively. You don't necessarily need to eat calories, but you need to listen to your body. Do you feel hungry? Do you feel full? Do you are you hungry for something else? Listen to your body. And when you're dealing with insulin resistance, this can be hard at first. So know that if you need to get a food tracking app and enter in what you're eating to see how many calories you're eating, how much protein, carbs, and fat you're eating, this is totally acceptable. This is what I've done. I haven't really tracked that much since September. I check in every once in a while, but to me, because I've been doing it so long, I could kind of know, well, this is how much protein I'm getting a day, or how much carbs, or how much fat, and trying to eat more intuitively. If I'm not hungry, I don't need to eat. But still trying to make sure that I'm getting enough nutrients in my body so it feels safe and can continue helping me achieve my goals. So when we're looking at fats, we have avocado oil, butter and ghee, coconut MCT oil, mayonnaise, full fat and homemade. I get the avocado oil mayonnaise from Costco, which is great. You have olive oil, olives, and rendered animal fat, such as like duck, lard, or tallow. So these fats you can add to your meal that have the least insulin response on your body. Then we have high fiber vegetables, which are the vegetables that are grown mostly above ground. So if they're root vegetables like carrots, beets, potatoes, these are more starchy. We have artichoke hearts, asparagus, bean sprouts, bell peppers, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, celery, chili peppers, cucumber, dill peppers, dill pickles, eggplant, green beans, and leafy green vegetables such as Swiss chard, spinach, kale, lettuce, collard greens. Episode 14, I believe it was, I talked about why we should eat leafy green vegetables. So if you haven't listened to that, go take a listen. We also have leeks, mushrooms, okra, pumpkin, radishes, spring onions, tomatoes, and zucchini. So we can eat these in abundance and help support our body with blood sugar and insulin regulation. And we have protein. We have eggs and fatter cuts of meat, salmon and sardines. These have the least amount of to cause insulin response. Then we have a moderate, which could be our bone broths, game, lean cuts of meat, leaner fish and seafood, and like organ meats like liver, heart, kidneys. And then we have poultry. So these things are still good sources of protein and should be included in our meals. But just keep in mind that some meats, some proteins can cause a higher insulin response than others. But when it comes to protein, I personally I'm not really concerned as much with whether or not it's going to cause an insulin response. I'm more focused on the carb aspect because that can cause a really blood sugar and insulin response, especially if insulin resistance is advanced. Then we have dairy. And dairy can cause a moderate response because it does have carbs in it. We have full fat cheese, full fat yogurt, heavy cream, kefir, sour cream, and milk really can cause an insulin response. When we're looking at foods, it can become quite trying. We can see our meals as we can't eat that, we can't eat this. We might be able to eat this, but we might deal with the consequences later. We want to set good intentions around our meals and not see our meals as a chore, drudgery, something to be avoided or stressed over. You just kind of want to have an understanding of what you're eating and understand how it could potentially affect your metabolism, your blood sugar, and insulin production and balancing. So it's important to more or less focus on how's this food making you feel after the fact. Do you feel energized? Do you feel satisfied? Do you still feel hungry? And are you achieving your goals? We have nuts and seeds. We have chia seeds, flax seeds, Brazil nuts, hazelnuts, macadamia nuts, pecans, and walnuts. These are the least insulin, cause a least insulin response. Then we have almonds, pine nuts, pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, sunflower seeds, cashew nuts, chestnuts, and pistachios. Now let's talk about fruit. Processed foods more or less won't help you in achieving your health goals. But eating whole foods, foods to their most original form, for lack of better expression, is best and most supportive to your health goals. So when we look at fruit, we don't want to be afraid of carbs because carbs are needed for our body's health. But when we're dealing with insulin resistance and blood sugar dysregulation, our body needs a little bit more help. And sometimes taking away or decreasing a certain food will help our body heal to then be able later to handle it better. So low glycemic foods that cause the least blood sugar spike and insulin response are berries, like strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries. These things can be well enjoyed. Now, if you look on Google, Google will tell you that apples are low glycemic. And my reasoning of this is because they have a lot of fiber. But I know from personal experience, eating an apple causes a pretty big glucose spike. Now, with somebody who doesn't have an advanced insulin dysregulation blood sugar problem, maybe won't have such as much a spike. So just know when you are eating carbs to make sure you pair it with protein and fat. So this will help even more. I know for me personally, even when I did pair it with protein and fat, I still had that significant spike. So just keeping in mind, fruits that cause the most response to blood sugar and insulin are apples, bananas, clementines, figs, grapes, guava, kiwis, mangoes, melons, nectarines, oranges, papaya, peaches, pears, pineapple, and plums. I know you're probably listening to this and you're like, well, what fruits can I eat? I personally have enjoyed all of these fruits in moderation and not very often. I been craving oranges and clementines over the winter, and so I have and grapefruit. And so I have eaten some more of those, but usually paired it with a high protein meal. Usually eat it for breakfast because for breakfast I usually have 80 to 90 grams of protein. And so pairing that with an orange helps with that balancing. And then I usually work out afterwards. So this helps even more. So just going over, you need to be mindful of what you're eating, what you're consuming. And if the scale's not budging, your clothes aren't fitting any better, taking a step back, being a detective, looking at what you're consuming, what foods you're buying, how you're feeling before, during, and after meals could really give you insight on what needs adjusted, what your body's telling you it needs. It can be really unnerving when you feel ill and you're trying to do everything you can to get better and things aren't changing and you're left at a loss on what to do. And you feel like you're trying everything. But realize that the symptoms you're experiencing is your body's way of telling you what it needs. And instead of viewing it as your body's failing you, you've done something wrong, it's it's always going to be like this. Realize that it's messages for you to be able to use in your detective work on how to correct that, to find the culprit, to find the root cause. So don't lose heart. There is hope. This morning I was forgetting of my progress that I've had in the past year. And so I looked back last March to pictures and then I pulled out a outfit that I had worn and I put on the outfit and I was like, you know what? I have made a lot of progress because we are our worst critics. We see all the flaws. We see all the our shortcomings. We know where we want to be, and we're not there yet. So it can be easy to forget the progress you've made. So writing down how you feel today. In 2 weeks' time, look back and see the progress you made. All right, I say that wraps it up for today. As always, this podcast is informational and educational purposes and should not be used as a substitute for professional medical advice. Thanks for joining me. Please subscribe, like, share, comment your thoughts. I would love to hear from you. Until next time, continue to embrace life and thrive where God has planted you right now.